Welcome back to Golden Goal. Now, there's no Premier League action this is first of all another pre-recorded show. But yes, as this is coming out, there is no Premier League action, but there is international football. And then if there's one topic that frequently causes debates, it is our England squad, and we've had another batch of England players to represent England in the next few games announced today as we're recording this. So I thought I'll gather people and have a chat about it and see if we will agree on the players with Gareth Southgate. Spoiler alert: probably might be some disagreements. Let's introduce the panel though. Gareth Southgate's best friend George.
Yeah, I was going to say you're lucky you got me on an international show. Hardly, hardly remember the last one I done. I think it was
You've been running away, but the last time you were on was actually the World Cup preview.
the World Cup preview. So
Yeah, that I run off that one, and then you run off all the rest of international coverage. But you've not escaped. You're here to,
I'm
I'm
back.
sure, compliment Gareth Southgate. Nick, welcome to the show as well.
Thank you, Hubert.
I don't think we've actually had you on an international show, unless I'm making it up,
Uh,
or not
no, I don't
often. I
think
think we
so.
think
Don't
I've
think
had you
so.
during the World Cup.
Yeah.
So
Just don't
let's
have many Newcastle players in the England squad, but now they're good.
well, we will go through that. So let's kick off with the England goalkeepers. So we've got Sam Johnston, Crystal Palace, Jordan Pickford, Everton, Aaron Ramsdale, Arsenal.
All
So,
Rambo.
I mean, yeah. George, what do you think? Goalkeepers happy with them?
Um, on form, no, but I can see why he's gone with Pickford just because of the experience that. Mr. Waistcoat, he likes to pick his favourites, doesn't he? And those who have done him well and those in experience. I think we can fully get out the window now that he picks players on form.
No, I
Uh,
think we've known that a while back.
yeah, obviously we'll come to reasons why I think that as well. Um, and it's quite funny because there's something I've just seen a part of an interview, but I'll mention it when it comes to the next part. Um, the only reason I'm saying Pickford because he ain't really done that well for Everton. I think Johnston and Ramsdale picks itself. I'm I am surprised Pope's not there.
I was gonna say, you say
Um,
Johnston picks itself. What do you mean by that?
I just think Sam Johnson as a number three picks itself.
Mm.
We know Sam Johnson ain't going to be starting. He ain't getting ahead of Ramsdale, but Pope and Ramsdale I thought were at a similar level. Like I think Ramsdale's a lot better than Pope, but I would say that. Um, but yeah, I thought Pickford might he might have not struggled like he wouldn't have got like he would have got a drop, but I thought they might have tried to alternate it, but he ain't going to start in a qualifier with Sam Johnson. So that's why I'd say that as a number three international goalkeeper, he picks himself. Whereas if you said to me out of those three, who would I have dropped? Probably Pickford would have been, but I know he's been great for England, but that's why I'm surprised not to see Pope.
Well, before my opinions, we'll go to Nick. What do you think of the goalkeepers?
Um, Not surprised. Well, two of those I'm not really surprised. I'm not surprised he picked Pickford. I probably would not have gone with Jordan Pickford because he has um because the way his form with Everton this season has been not very good. And Ramsdale and Sam Johnson have played better than him, so those two are definite. But I'm very surprised. I think Nick Pope should have been in the squad and not Pickford. Um, he was in the squad in the summer because he had a hand injury. He had surgery on his hand, so that's why he wasn't picked in the summer. Um, but I'm really puzzled he's not on this. He's been overlooked this time around when in previous squads he has been picked. So I'm not sure on that. But it's just showed that Southgate trusts Pickford and always picks him, so that's not really surprising. I think qualifier it will be Pickford, but I could see Ramsdale starting the friendly against Scotland.
So, yes, I think Ramsdale, easy pick for me still. Still, probably, I would personally have him as England's number one, even though I'm not an Arsenal supporter. Pickford, when it comes to picking players on form, I think we've established a long time ago that that's not Gareth's way. Southgate's way is not to pick players on form. I'm not even going to moan about it because it's been the case for ever with Southgate. I don't think he ever picked players on form. So complaining about that is simply just a waste of time because he always does it. So, that doesn't surprise me. He probably picked Pickford for the experience he has so far and can help others. What really baffles me is Sam Johnston. I mean, that is confusing me because I would not. When you've got Nick Pope in a potential run up, I don't understand why you'd pick Sam Johnston. To me, Pope, Ramsdale, and Pickford would be the obvious three keepers.
Especially when he ain't going to even be number one for me at his own club.
Just in general, that as well. But it's just.
I think he ain't no better. I'm sorry, I know we've had this conversation, but Sam Johnson is not better than Dean Henderson.
No, and if anything, Dean Henderson's better. What makes him a bit trickier is his attitude.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, like, obviously, I know at the minute you have to pick. Yeah, like Johnson's been playing well, but maybe I don't know. Maybe Newcastle said to England, "Do you mind leaving Pope out because of the injury?" But there's another English goalkeeper I'm trying to think of as well. Like, no, that was the one. Trafford. I would have rather picked Trafford as a third choice goalkeeper.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. He would be better picked than Sam Johnston.
Not saying he's done as well. I think he's been in goal for Burnley, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
Yeah,
but he won the
he's
Euros
played-
with England under 21s.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, as an experience thing, like, get him around the squad, and this is what drives me mad. Like, we all know what sort of team we're going to see in that friendly game, which is that's what annoys me. But that would be the time to try the answers out. So people like Trafford, even give Pope a game or Ramsdale. Because for me, if you're going to pick Sam Johnson, then he has to feature in that friendly. I'm not saying start, but you don't need Pickford. You know what Pickford's going to do.
Well, I think in general it's good for Southgate to experiment in the friendlies, but like you say, most likelihood is it's not going to happen.
Harry can be up front, playing 90 minutes.
I mean, yeah, it's one of these things. Like there's things we'll be moaning about when it comes to discussing the England squad, and it'll be the same things every time. And one of the or two of them will be one, lack of experimentation, and two, it'll be the inability of Southgate to get off his high horse and pick players on form rather than pick his favourites. And
we'll come to this later, if you don't mind, when the actual squad's announced, when we've gone through the squad, because I've named, I think it's 7 players that should be in this squad. I want to see if you two agree with me, but I'll come to afterwards.
We'll go for that. So let's go. Let's take you through defenders, shall we? So defenders, you've got Ben Chilwell from Chelsea, Levi Colwill from Chelsea, Lewis Dunk from Brighton, Mark Gahey from Crystal Palace.
Well done, mate. I didn't know how to say that, so I'm glad you could say that.
Well, I've had people call him all sorts. My favourite mispronunciation, which I sometimes stick to fun, is Mark Gooey.
That's one of the commentators call him Gayer.
Yeah, that's a different one, but Gooey I just found can you just change his name to that, please? I'd love it. Harry Maguire. Fikayo Tomori.
Yep.
Kieran Trippier from Newcastle. Carl Walker from Manchester City. So I think this is going to take a bit more convincing. George.
So most of them I agree with.
Yeah, apart from a few.
Yeah, I don't really agree with Levi Carwell. I know that's a bit controversial.
Uh,
I think it's a bit too early.
he's a bit young still. I mean, yes, he's proven himself a lot at Brighton, but enough for an international call up.
When you see people like Ben White sitting at home, it's a bit like, yeah.
I think there's more behind that, though.
Yeah,
Let's
I,
face it.
I honestly think Ben White's told him he won't play for England again
Not
until
under Southgate, yeah.
yeah.
The contract runs till December next year for Southgate.
Good, I can book my party then. So Harry Maguire. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. So I've seen an interview from Gareth Southgate, and it has set. And you know what? We can talk about it now because it's basically public knowledge. They've said, has Mason Greenwood ever got a career plan for England? And he said, I can't really talk about that because now he's not really playing. He's not currently playing football, which a reporter said is, but nor is Harry Maguire. Which I think is an absolute bang on fair point. You've got him stuck in the mud there. I thought it was quite a good work from the reporter.
Absolutely. It's a fair point for very different reasons, but neither of them are exactly playing.
No, so the only reason I can think Harry Maguire's been picked is because I don't know,
Harry Maguire.
maybe he's got nudes of Southgate or something. I don't know, but he's got something like I could do a whole show just on why Harry Maguire shouldn't be picked. Everyone says to me experience, but yeah, you can have as much experience as you want, but if you're not playing, what's the point? I know even like Abdi, who's a rabid United fan, is saying it's bullshit. Really, that it shouldn't. Say I've dropped the S bomb, and we're not even 10 minutes into the show. Southgate does it to me. I just don't know. You can pick him up. Tomorrow he's been playing really well for Milan, so I'm glad he's been picked. The thing is, it's not like just Maguire gets picked though, mate, because he'll play as well. Like if you have him around the squad for experience, yeah, fine. But he'll be in that team, and that's what I don't know. It's what baffles me a bit. I'm trying. There was someone else in that list I thought shouldn't be picked. I agree with Chilwell being picked. I think he's been playing quite well, and I don't actually mind Ben Chilwell because he actually plays. But with Maguire, I don't think he's ever going to be dropped. He's just one of the favourites from Southgate. I think you'll see it'll probably be either Walker or Trippier at right back, and then you'll have Lego head Maguire with That's the interesting one. I don't actually know who they'll play with him.
Well, the other options are you've got Lewis Dunk, you've got Colwell, you've got Mark Gahey.
So if you said to me who I'd like to see, it'd have to be Lewis Dunk because I think that's one player who deserves it a lot more than he has got. And then I think you'll have Chilwell at left back. But it just baffles me. Maguire, he's got to be the most luckiest footballer. He earns all that money for doing nothing at United, and then
And
gets
still
picked.
feels he's got the right to request a £9 million payout.
Like, mate, I'm like, who are you? Like, mate, who do you think you are? £9 million. Like, I bet West Ham saw that and thought, thank God for that. Like, obviously, I don't think he'll. I know we're doing this a bit before, but I don't think he'll leave now because obviously United can't. But it's
Because
just
Rafa Varane's injured, so they probably won't.
they've got Rafael Varane injured, Luke Shaw's injured, and there's another defender who's injured. I can't think of his name. But
Bring Phil Jones back.
yeah. Oh, they've got Johnny Evans, so that's right.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, I'll let Nick go on because I could talk about Maguire for ages.
I was going to say, we could be here a while because there's me to come still. Nick, we'll go with you.
Most of the defenders I am happy with, been picked. Chilwell deserved to be in the squad because the way he's played really well for Chelsea at the start of the season. Kim Trippier has been playing well. It's been playing well. So that's fine. Kyle Walker, not very surprising. I think Levi Colville, because he played well in the under-21 Euros winning team, and he was training with them in before the under-21 Euros. So that's not really surprising. Good Lewis Dunk got called up because he's done really well with Brighton. So I think that's deserved. Mark Gahey deserved. I would not have picked Harry Maguire because he's not playing for Man
You do
United.
surprise me.
I would have probably looked at Ezra Konsa of Villa possibly instead of Maguire because
I'd looked at anyone instead of Maguire.
he's English and he can. I think he's English and can play, or even Ben Mee maybe Brentford or Tarkowski. That was the only defender that was the only one in for the defense I didn't agree with.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's fairly common, really. I think Harry Maguire is always the debate for everyone when he gets picked. It's always the debate of should Maguire be picked, and I agree with pretty much what's been said. I don't think he should. But again, I'm a firm believer on what Southgate isn't doing, and that is picking players on their form. And yeah, it's not happening, and it's not really a surprise. Did I expect Harry Maguire to be dropped? No, because Southgate would probably play him even if Harry Maguire has not played football for 10 years. The Mason Greenwood argument, as I said, for different reasons, neither of them play football, but the same argument applies. If neither of them play football, why is one getting picked over the other?
Yeah.
And it's a simple question. And the fact that Gareth Southgate cannot provide a much better answer than a cop-out excuse is quite frankly embarrassing. Because yes, we all know what's surrounded Mason Greenwood's lack of football. We all know what happened, and we all know that we all know what situation he was in. But yes, he's not playing football at the moment, and neither is Maguire. So, on what merit does one earn a spot? Is it the same as Pickford, where Maguire's got experience of playing for England, therefore he gets picked even though he's not kicked the ball?
So is John Terry. Do you know what I mean?
You just have to wonder how far does that go? How far?
Terry and Rio.
You can take how far you can go back on this argument that you pick a player just because they've played for England a lot, even though they haven't played for ages. You can do a John Terry. You can pick for anybody. So to me, that's ridiculous. Do I think it's too early for Levi Colwell? Maybe. But he has played for England under 21s, I believe. So maybe it's not too bad. Whether
I don't think he's been that great for Chelsea.
He's only played a few games. It's tricky to say that at the moment.
But if you're comparing him, why he should be in the England squad, he's only been really compared on that. And that's why I think it's a bit too early. I'm not saying he won't, because I think he'll be a great defender. But
he will be a great defender in the future.
Too early.
But I think
there's other players that could have been picked, like Nick Konsa and that. I think Mick would have if he didn't get injured. And
if Carmings hadn't suffered the ACL injury, I think he would have been in.
I was surprised I didn't see Eric Dyer.
Well. Yeah. I think the headline of the selection is the ever constant debate of Mr. Maguire, and like you say, the frustrating fact is he will play. He will play for that England team, and other players will miss out who have a much better pedigree than Maguire and who have actually kicked a ball this season.
I'd like to see Lewis Dunk and Tomori play. I think
they're very good players.
Obviously, I know John Stones normally would play, but he's been injured. But
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
where
Well,
the players who don't normally play would
that should be their
step up.
chance. Hmm.
Yeah,
So let's go to the next area of the squad, shall we?
Midfield.
Midfield is the next one, and we're gonna go for midfielders. Trent Alexander-Arnold from Liverpool, Jude
yeah,
Bellingham, Real Madrid, Conor Gallagher, Chelsea, Jordan Henderson, Al something or other, Calvin Phillips, okay, Declan Rice, Arsenal.
go on, Declan.
So, I've got two questionable players here. See if we agree, George. What are your thoughts?
Um, so my questionable two are obviously Henderson and Phillips, but for different reasons. What is really frustrating, if Calvin Phillips was playing week in, week out, he has to definitely be picked because of how good of a midfielder he really is.
Mm.
But he's too injury prone and he hasn't hardly played. So that's where my issue with Phillips is. Henderson, well, he's gone to play building sandcastles with the Saudis, and like you telling me there's not better midfielders than him or that deserve it a bit more. It's all down to experience again. Like you think they took Henderson to one of the tournaments just when he couldn't even walk properly. Um, there's so many options in that midfield that I could mention. Um, I know Trent's down as a midfielder, but he's not a midfielder. But I'm glad to see Declan. Obviously, I think if I'm seeing anything apart from Rice and Bellingham, I'm like it's like go sort yourself out, Gareth. And that's not me being biased because Rice plays for Arsenal now, but they're the two best midfielders we have, and I think they've proved that numerous times. Um, yeah, I'll let Nick go on because more of my issue is. Oh yeah, and Conor Gallagher. I'm not sure about that one either.
Yeah, that one's questionable number three for me. Nick, we'll go with you though. What are your thoughts on the midfield?
Um, I because uh, I'm not sure Trent Alexander. Well, he doesn't play midfield for Liverpool, so why is he down as midfield? I'm not sure. Um, I definitely question Conor Gallagher. What That's a question mark for the squad because uh, if he has, I know he has played for Chelsea, but not amazingly. And then I agree with George on Henderson and Callum Phillips. Because Callum Phillips is in, he hardly played last season for Man City because he got injured, and then he is fit this season. Man City he's just not been picked by Man City, so I don't think he should be in it. And then Henderson, yes, he's playing, but he's playing. How competitive a league he's playing in is another question. So I think Bellingham and Rice should be in playing in the midfield for England.
Well, yeah, I think when it comes to midfield, it's fairly all round the same thing. Jordan Henderson, again, he's been picked because he played a lot for England. So, many other midfielders we can list that probably played for England 20 years ago that can fit on that basis. When it comes to Conor Gallagher, I not only wouldn't have picked him this time around, I wouldn't have picked him for the last few times because he's not been convincing at all. He's a great player with great potential that he's not currently showing. And maybe it's a move to another club that he needs. But as we will talk about in our, as we would have talked about transfer show, shall I say. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't have picked him. And Calvin Phillips, well, it's just that's just the most frustrating one, really, because he's a great player, sure, and you can't deny his quality. He's fantastic. However, he's barely played. Now, yes, he's injury prone, so that has contributed to his played time. But if he's fully fit at the moment and Man City have not played him, you have to wonder why. If he's such a talented player, why has he not been played when if he's fully fit? To me, the fact that he's been picked over many other midfielders is frustrating because I would not have picked him at this point. I'd like to see him play more and see how he holds up. I'd like to see him play for his club. Because the fact that a player is not being played, there's a difference between playing for your club and not playing well, and not playing for your club at all when you're fit. So, I don't know. To me, that's probably quite baffling, as well as Henderson, but Calvin Phillips, it's just, yeah, it's one thing being good, it's another thing playing regular football, which he's not doing. So, but next section then, forwards. Let me just go to the top of the list. So we've got Eze from Crystal Palace, Phil Foden, Manchester City, Jack Grealish from Manchester City, Harry Kane from Bayern Munich, I am surprised, James Maddison from Tottenham, Eddie Nketiah, Arsenal, Marcus Rashford, Manchester United, Bukayo Saka from Arsenal, and Callum Wilson from Newcastle. George.
I have to say, hands up and all that, but fair play and well done to Eddie. I think as a centre forward in the Premier League at the start, I think he probably deserves it because he's been playing quite well. Yeah, I do. He probably won't start, will he? Let's be honest. The German Kane will. But yeah, I think most of the forwards answer itself. There's still a few notable people. It's probably the group of players, the only group of players that there's not really anyone in there that I probably wouldn't have picked. Because they're all basically playing. So it's really hard to say anything about them.
That's fun because we will have another section because there's players I think all of us would have put in, and I certainly one jumps out at me. Nick, what do you think of the forwards picked?
Not really surprising with this group with the forwards because they are all playing for their clubs. They're all playing really well form wise, so I'm not really surprised most of them have been picked. I would have put Raheem Sterling in the squad.
Thank you.
Because of the stuff with Chelsea.
I was going to mention after.
But the fact he hasn't, and he's not happy with it. Raheem Sterling is not impressed with being left out. But I would like Sonny and Ketty and Cam Wilson to be given a chance to play, but obviously that's not going to happen because Harry Kane plays every England game and he plays the whole game. So
does Bukayo Saka. He could be playing a game against the under fours and he'll probably play them.
Exactly. So that's one. That's what my thoughts are.
Yeah. Most forwards I'm fairly happy with that, to be honest. Not much to say on that apart from where the hell is Raheem Sterling? I mean, yes, okay, he's only had a few good games for Chelsea, but he's been playing very well. And there are players that he could have easily been picked instead of. So, George, you said you had a few players that you would have picked. I presume Sterling was on that list.
Yeah, so there is a couple that are wild card ones, but I don't actually know if they're English, so
Okay.
I'll be on that. So obviously Raheem Sterling was one of them. My second one was James Ward-Prowse.
I said that in the WhatsApp group. I
Mm.
said Ward-Prowse and Bowen in the WhatsApp group.
Bowen was my other one.
Yeah, Ward-Prowse easily for me should have been picked.
My other one, unless I've missed him, was Ollie Watkins.
Yeah,
No,
he's
yeah,
not. He's not picked him. Yeah.
he's not picked and he's English.
My,
So
yeah, I know he's English. The one I didn't know if he was English was Rico Henry.
I think he is. I'm pretty
So
sure
for me, if he's English, how he ain't been picked, I don't know. Because I can't think of another left back apart from Chilwell that's played that well.
Just looking it
Uh,
up for you.
he might be Jamaican. I'm just not sure, um, but if he is English, I don't know how he's not. He's not even spoke about or featured at all.
He is English.
Oh, right, we'll just add to that. My other one is Solly March.
Yeah, he's definitely English.
I don't know how he's like how well he played last season, and
We were talking about that a few weeks ago with someone I was watching the game with, and they had an interview with Solly Marsh after the Wolves game.
yeah, and he dominated that game.
Mm.
So yeah, there's 8 players there. Obviously I would have put Pope in, so that's 9. Obviously Ben White is my number 10. We all know what's happening.
Mm.
Well,
No,
we all
we certainly have theories that are probably quite close to home.
yeah. And I said Sterling. There was one more. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head. Um, it's a bit of a wild card one, but for me, if you're picking Jordan Henderson, why does Harvey Elliott not really get a look
Mm.
at Liverpool? And I know he's not playing all the time, but when he does play, he always impresses. He changes the game, and he's definitely English. So,
And
but
he's talented.
yeah,
I think it's a bit young at the moment, and he's not quite ready.
But you could say that about Levi Colwell.
oh well, or like other people, couldn't you? Really?
But
Uh,
I do think quite a lot of the players you mentioned, George, are
Most
should be
of these players
considered.
you've mentioned, I would have picked.
I would yeah, but I could also throw in the mix. Anthony Gordon should have been considered.
See,
Possibly.
I would rather have gone Harvey Barnes,
Yeah, I would have picked Harvey Barnes over Anthony Gordon.
Anthony Gordon, because I think Barnes has got something that not many players have to. But that,
And there is another player that we would have should have been picked, Barnes. Why is he not there?
like, there's loads of there's defender wise that you could go for. Like, um, I understand that there's a couple of injuries and stuff, but
Could he not? If
why
like
couldn't
he
why
could have
couldn't you?
gone. Was it like not looked at the Wolves centre back?
I don't know. They're quite poor
Max
to be.
Tillman.
I don't know about Wolves, mate, but what were you
One
good?
I would have looked at is Ben Mee.
Yeah, not a
But I
bad
think
shot.
he picked up an injury. I think he's been injured, though. That's why he's not played for Brentford.
Yeah, he was only out of the last game. Like he's
Mm.
played all the others, but what?
Would he be fit to play for England in this international break though?
Sure. But this is what I mean. These players won't ever get a look at.
Even without Ben Mee, we've named about 11 players who could have been. We named the entire starting 11 that could have been picked.
But those players won't get looked at. Like, and that's what like James Ward-Prowse for me. How he wasn't picked for the World Cup for the last tournament is beyond me. How he isn't picked for this is beyond me. But then,
He's much. I'm staggered. That he hasn't. He's not in the squad. He's really good player, and
yeah,
he's probably the best set piece taker in the Premier League.
well, yeah, like if you want, because like whatever we think about him, Harry Kane's a great goal scorer. You got someone like Ward-Prowse on set pieces. It's meat and drink for Harry Kane.
Have you seen, like, we've all seen what he's done for West Ham in the few games he's played for them since he signed.
Yeah, he's been
Immediate impact.
scoring, and like, Antonio won't scoring to save his life. Now he can't stop scoring.
No,
like, but I'm just like when you look at some of those players now, like Sterling, I think it's been really good, and he should be picked. My only thing was it because he's only done it for a couple of games. But then if
Like, doing it for a couple of games is much more than Maguire.
so, that's what I mean. That's what I was about to say. Like,
Hmm.
if you're basing it on that, then there's about 5 or 6 that probably shouldn't be picked. Um, I don't know. Like, there is other players that you could probably think of, like, and I've probably missed some blatantly obvious ones. So when people watching it, always comment below. But
Absolutely.
um, if I like, I'm not being rude. If I can think, I only thought about them in the last 10 minutes in the show. So if I can think of that much, but yeah,
Plus, it
Rico.
says something that you can pick an entire starting 11 of players that Southgate missed out, and that's probably missing out still other players that could have been picked.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that they should at least be
There, could you
what
couldn't the well, I think midfield. Could you not consider Jacob Ramsey if he was fully fit and playing for Villa?
if he was fit and hadn't broke his metatarsal, then he'd have to be in it for me.
Hmm.
But because of the injury,
That's
yeah, I
12.
get. Obviously, Ramsey would. I think he would have been there, but I just it's just beyond me. Like I don't
The,
know.
the
It's the
question.
usual.
So the question is, do you think we need a change of England manager?
We needed
Yes,
the change of England manager after the World Cup.
you're asking me this. We needed a change after the Euros.
No, to be honest, to me, fair enough. He stayed for the World Cup, whatever that happened. But to me, the fact that he should have left after the World Cup. I think he's done a lot with England because he transformed the ethos of the England team. But I don't think he's capable of doing much more than that. The
Don't
fact
get
that
me
he's
wrong.
still there is a miracle.
I admit he's done a good job. I've think it was you. I said to Hubert after the Euros, I said we would never win nothing with Southgate. I hate to say it, I've been proved right so far. For me, yeah, I feel like they just need a new manager. But one thing I will say is that who do you go for?
Eddie Howe,
Yeah, and for me, he's the only other one now that who's
if you want
available.
an English manager.
Yeah, if you want an English manager, if you don't, I don't know. There's like you don't have to have a big name to win something. Like you look at some of the countries that have won stuff, they're not big names. They're not all of them. Um, but I'm just like I don't know. Like some of the it just seem if you want to pick players on form, and I know sometimes that's not practical, but you can't be picking like if Maguire had played a couple of games or come off the bench a couple of times, I'd be like, yeah, well at least he's featuring. But I can't remember the last time Harry Maguire played.
How you can pick a player that has not kicked a ball this season is beyond me. But as much as it's beyond me, it's also not surprising because it's Gareth Southgate.
Well, just like, like even with like, I'm not being rude. He picks players that he could afford to give a rest to. Like, and I'll be selfish. Like Bukayo Saka, we're playing Ukraine and Scotland, but I can guarantee you, Saka will play in both of them,
Hmm.
and so will Kane. Do they need to? No, they don't.
No, I
Friendly to
it's
give other players a chance.
arguable. It's argue you should give other players a chance for the Scotland game.
Ukraine, that's a qualifier I can just about understand. And I say just about because we're virtually qualified.
Oh, we actually. Oh, I won't even play him in that game then.
We're not fully, but let's go Daz. You know,
Like for me, for the Scotland game, I don't know if you boys agree. This would be my team. I would play Ramsdale or Johnson.
I wouldn't play Johnston,
Yeah,
but yeah, I'll play Ramsdale.
But like you get the
Hmm.
sort of where I'm going. Um, Trippier, Mark Gui, what his name is, go with Gui. Tamore, Chilwell. Then I would play probably. I'd probably put Gallagher in midfield with. I think what else we got. probably go Phillips, Gallagher. Then I would be playing people like Madison. Then I would have Callum Wilson or Edin Nketiah, Jack Grealish, and say someone like Phil Foden. I wouldn't be playing any of people like Rice, Bellingham. What's the point? It's a friendly for a reason. Or I might even start Eze,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
What friendlies are there to try different things.
And that's what they should be.
Yeah.
And I agree. That should be the time for
most of those 11 players I mentioned get a run out in that friendly match.
Well, most of the players you mentioned could probably easily start against Ukraine too. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's the England squad. The usual topics, the usual issues. I'm
rant.
Usual what?
And the usual George ranting about Southgate.
Yeah, well, you love Southgate. We all know it. We will be back probably talking internationals and the same old problems in October. I bet. The one player I'm surprised Southgate. Actually, no, Mount's injured, so okay, he would have picked him if he wasn't. Even if he's been crap. So there you go. That's the England squad. We will see what happens with the internationals. I mean, probably win, but we'll see. So yes, that is it for this show. We will be back with another pre-recorded show as well. We've got the Champions League draw as part of that pre-recorded section, and also a Premier League preview show for the weekend commencing the 15th of September. So yes, join us for that, and there will be the live shows will return from the week starting the 18th of September. So yes, enjoy the internationals. We'll see what happens. Thank you, George. Thank you, Nick. And yeah, we will see you on another show.
Cool. Cheers, mate.
Well, thank you.